Hi brothers and sisters, we're back to do the War Scroll. Take a look at it anyway. I was looking for my notes. I've already made the video for at that time. I'm not crazy about it, but it's 2 hours and 50 minutes long. And I'll tell you, it starts out a little slow, but once it gets going, it answers a lot of questions. But don't put it past me. I might remake it. Even after I post it, I might take it down and remake it and redo it after I determine really thoroughly whether it's, I don't know, got everything in it that it should have. Anyway, I promised we'd do maybe a two-part. I don't know, I might get through the whole thing. I didn't make the notes. As far as I can tell, I made the notes on the copy itself. I don't find my notes anywhere else, which is odd for me, but normally I have a lot to write. So I guess basically what we're going to do, we're just going to read the War Scrolls. I had thought I would do the first 10 pages of it. At the very least, there is parts that I am going to skip in it. I don't know. That it's so vital or so important that we know it or don't know it. But I just find when I get changing the genders around to where, well, it's not a male against a male. It's really the sons of darkness against the daughters of light. Though they have it, the sons of light. And we've learned through our studies, anybody on this watching my videos, you know what we've come to understand. It was the daughters of light, known as the daughters of Israel, rejected as the foundation stone of the world at the very beginning. The cornerstone, I guess. Which then does so lead to your foundation, your solid foundation. You have four corners, of a building, your foundation. So we're looking at, what got established as your false government system. So we're going to take a look at the War Scrolls and see what they have to say when we change out the gender of the sons of light to the daughters of light, and we change that pronoun where it needs to be changed. Okay, so this is the War Scrolls, introduction to the War Scrolls. I printed this off back in 2014. So that was, and I never really paid much attention. I believe I read it the once, and then because I wasn't that deep into my studies in 2014, I got deeper into studying and understanding things and putting them together. The Lord was, of course, leading me in the pathways that I needed to go in order to form that solid basis of understanding. So in 2014, I had printed this off thinking it might have some validity to it. And then I had read it and I don't think I really read it. I more or less read it and then tucked it away. And I remember reading different comments back in 2017, probably 2018, different people that would bring up the War Scrolls. And so from time to time it would come back into my mind and I'd think, well, maybe I should get back into the War Scrolls. And so recently I just picked them up and I really read into them and I said, hey, there's some stuff in here that's lining up to what I'm saying when we actually get the genders correct. So there's 17 pages here, 18, 19, 20. I finish on 17. So we're going to start on page 2 and it's going to go to 17. If I can find this link, because when I went in and compared this scroll, this War Scroll, this copy, to the one they have now, I believe there's some slight differences in them, and I don't really know why. Or at least I thought there was. But if I can find this particular link, it's down here, www.meta, meta-religion.com, world religions. Christianity, there's a slash, Christianity, another slash, other books, and the Dead Sea Scrolls. So, and I printed this on the 26th day of the 6th month, 2014. Not that that makes any difference whatsoever. But it was a while ago for me. So, the War Scroll, introduction to the War Scroll. So let's just begin reading. And so for the first verse, or the first line, I'll tell you what it really says. Okay, and as I went, I did the corrections to go in line with the theology that we realized was actually being shown to us in the Old Testament. So I actually did a nasty thing when I did this. I actually blacked out the word altogether, so I don't even know what it read. So, bad on me. I'm sorry. But I'll tell you where I've done that, okay? So you yourself, if we can get this link up, you can go see what it really said, if you're interested. Now, most people don't seem to be interested lately, because I've babbled too long. I'm way over my deadline. Okay, War Scrolls, Introduction to the War Scroll. The first lines of the scroll lay the framework for a three-stage conflict between, now they've got the sons of light, that is, members of the Yahad, and the sons of darkness. Now, this is what we're going to do. I just told you. We're going to shift that sons of light out to the daughters of light. That's what it really should be rendered. And when you get reading it, it really makes more sense to say that. So the first line of the scroll lays the framework for a three-stage conflict between the daughters of light, that is, the members of the Yahad, and the sons of darkness. Now, it almost sounds like the jihad there. That's almost what it sounds like, doesn't it? But as we get reading along, we come to understand what's actually the focus here. So the first battle finds the adversaries led by the Kittim. So when I looked Kittim up, it's Strong's Hebrew 3794, and it simply meant Cyprus. Now that's a location. I had to have took notes. I'll be darned if I cannot find them. Yeah. I'm sure I wrote Cyprus down somewhere here. Let me see. Just bear with me to see if I can't find that information. Okay, so I got Crucible there. Let me see. I tend to do it on the back of the pages when I do it. No, I must have made it later on in the pages, because I just barely picked these up, right? And I didn't really look at them. So what I understood from that is that Kittim is Cyprus. When you punch in Kittim, Strong's Hebrew, it'll take you to 3794. I'm sure it does. Let me just check it. I apologize for babbling so bloody long here. Old Testament, we want 3794. Let's see what it actually renders here. 3794. It says this. Right here. 3794. Not quite there yet. On the next page. 3794 is... Where are you? Right there. Yeah. It says Kidley. K-I-T-T-I-Y. Kitty. From an unused name denoting Cyprus, only in the plural. Okay. Kittim, yep. Chittim, Kittim, that's what it says. The Greeks or Romans on the shores opposite Palestine. Yeah, that's where I was going. Opposite Palestine. So opposite the shores of Israel is these people called Kittim, Cyprus. That's what it says. Chittim, C-H-I-T-T-I-M, or K-I-T-T-I-M. So these were on the opposite shore, against across the waters, I guess, from Palestine, which we know as Israel. So Kittim, right? The first battle finds the adversaries, those across the water, Cyprus, led by the Kittim. Now it says of Assyria. Although the name Kittim is often used in the scrolls as a reference to the Romans, well, that's what we're just learning here, right? The Greeks or Romans on the shores opposite Palestine, Kittim, which is Cyprus. Yeah. Its basic sense seems to have been the archetypical bad guy. So if we look at the word Assyria here, the Assyrian was Sennacherib, that pointy cherub that came against the daughters of Israel, right? Anybody who watches my videos. So it's an archetypical bad guy. So it's a standard bad guy is what we're looking at. The Kittim of Ashur come in alliance with the biblical enemies, and this is correct, Edom, Moab, Ammon, and Philistia. And we see that happening. Cooperating with this unholy alliance are the violators of the covenant. Who did we discover was the violators of the covenant? The men of Israel themselves, who turned against their very own daughters of Israel. Their very own mothers, daughters, wives. They turned on them. So the Kittim of Assyria, the adversaries against the daughters of light, are also in alliance with biblical enemies, and cooperating with this unholy alliance are the violators of the covenant identified in the Old Testament as the sons of Israel themselves, who took harlots in covenant as opposed to the right hand of God, known as the daughters of Israel. They didn't want them. Jews have spurned the message of the Yahad, and in so doing aligned themselves with the sons of darkness. So it does say Jews here, but we know it's the nation of Israel, and Jews are part of that. And we determined that the Jews is Judah, right? South kingdom, where your firstborn son comes from. And that Ephraim, Israel, the north kingdom, is where your daughter comes from, the firstborn of mother's womb. So they spurned the message of Yahad, and in doing so aligned themselves with the sons of darkness. So she says, you stood in, where is that? She says, you said, razor, razor to the ground. And you are just as one of the enemies when you let them come in and you let them tear my holy place down, my daughters down. You tore the house and the force down. You tore my daughters down. And she says, you said, razor, razor, down to the foundation thereof. And the ones who stood by the wayside and let that happen were the sons of Israel, who should have been in covenant to support her in her time of need, and they were not. So Jews who have spurned the message of the Yahad, and in so doing aligned themselves with the sons of darkness. They become aligned with them. The second stage expands the war influence to the Kittims. The Kittim, the archetypical bad guy who now dwelt in Egypt, and then finally to the kings of the north, right? So that's our three-part conflict, our three-stage conflict is what it's saying. So, although this war is said to extend over 40 years, the writer of the scroll was particularly concerned with the details of the very final day of battle, as are we. After 6 bloody engagements during this last battle, I find this interesting, the daughters, now understand they had the sons here, the daughters of light and the sons of darkness, it feels like fantasy and fiction, and it may well be, but it may well not be too. But they are deadlocked in a 3-3 tie. They've won 3, we've won 3. So there's one more that's going to break the tie. And in the 7th and final confrontation, the great hand of God, who did we tell you was the hand of God? We know who that is. Shall overcome Belial. Belial is another name for the sons of darkness, the sons of worthlessness, who turned on daughter Israel's covenant. So anybody who's watched knows what these are all references to. I don't have to reference them for you. You know them yourselves. The great hand of God shall overcome Belial and all the angels of his dominion, and all the men of his forces shall be destroyed forever. So the 7th and final engagement between the daughters of light and the sons of Belial, the sons of darkness, is the tiebreaker, and she wins it. That's what it says. So the great hand of God is identified as the daughters of Israel. I'll give you the quick references here. Isaiah 51, Isaiah 52, and Psalm 89. And you will come to realize it says the daughter of Israel. And it doesn't say the daughter of Israel just because it's referencing sons. No. They're like saying, well, it's her babies. You know, that's all she's any good for. No, she's the right hand of God. That's who she is. And she is also identified as the light of the world in Isaiah 49. And it's feminine for a reason. They just want to make everything male and cast you off to the side. Well, that's what the sons of darkness will do if you're in covenant with him. You'll have no standing in this. You won't even be recognized because you're just a harlot. You're his doormat. That's all you are. And you're actually leading forces to his army is what you're doing, when you really should be empowering her army, because she's the power of light, not the power of darkness. She's the power of darkness. So along the way, in true apocalyptic fashion, the scroll goes into elaborate details concerning the battle trumpets, the banners, and the operational manner. Priestly prayers for the various phases of the conflict are recorded next. Finally, the seven and savage engagements of the final day battle are detailed, culminating in a ceremony of thanksgiving, no blood required, on the following day of the victory. That's right. So as with biblical representations of apocalyptic literature, Ezekiel 38 and 39, and the Lord that speaks all through Ezekiel is 136, that's her numbered daughter Israel, and the revelation of John as a pertinent example, one can easily lose sight of the primary purpose of this work, and they can. It is not to be found in the intricate and often mysterious tales of the text. Rather, the author was concerned with the tribulation and hopelessness that her readers, and it's her readers were currently experiencing. She built her encouragement on a biblical theology of rescue, and she does. She's going to rescue us from a lie that's got us entrapped in a snare, like fowlers, like the fowler snare, the doves, the birds. And what does it say of those witches in Ezekiel? It says, you who sew the bands to your arms, the pillows to your arm, to catch those that fly. Well, I wonder if they ain't catching them to fly to be a member in the Sons of Darkness army. That's what this is about. This is about building our armies. And eschatology has all of that in here. So, was built upon the theology of rescue, and it was. So the defeat of Goliath at the hand of daughter Israel is what it should really be rendered. And Pharaoh and the officers of his chariot at the Red Sea, coupled with the aspect was her understanding that great suffering was part of God's will for the redeemed. And it is. We've suffered. She has caused us to stagger and drink the wine of astonishment. And so, coupled with this aspect, right, this promise of a great rescue, was also her understanding that great suffering was part of God's will for the redeemed. It's to teach us. And indeed, God's crucible, what's a crucible? Let's look that up in a minute, was seen as a necessary component of our existence so long as evil continued to exist in the world. So what's the meaning of crucible? Crucible, a pot made of heat-resistant material and used for holding a substance for treatment in a process that requires high temperature. 2, a severe test. So we're in a severe test, aren't we? A crucible. Whether we're going to be led astray by a lie, or whether we're going to go in and be strong enough and mother strong daughters of light and find that truth for ourselves instead of being led astray and fight in the wrong side of the battle. In a crucible, we also get the idea of, the silver almost being purified 7 times over, right, in the fire crucible. So it was seen as a necessary component. Ultimately, God's purpose was to exalt the daughters of light and to judge the children of darkness, the sons of darkness, right? So we are being prepared with our weapons, what weapons we're going to be holding in this great battle, our swords, our arrows, if we have them, our bows, our spears. So, you know what I was told, and I thought I'd just share this with you. Anybody who's watched my videos, you've seen this one, where I showed you this picture. Yeah. And I said, in one of my dreams, visions by God, I believe it was truly from God, I was shown carrying this particular weapon. And quite recently, I was told that it's called the Day Star. So I don't know. I was told this weapon was the Day Star that I was carrying. I was carrying a few other weapons with me at the time. For those who's watched my videos, you might remember their dream, and you may not. You know, you may not think they're that important because they are personal. They're meant personal, just like your dreams are personal to you, and I'm sure very valuable to you and very important to you, as well they should be. So, I mean, and it's up to you if you're going to share them or not. So I did share this particular dream. I haven't shared all my dreams, but I've shared a few of them along the way. The ones that I really felt were important visions from God, and not made up by me. Of course, we have dreams that we know are just our own foolishness. And then there's some that really stand out, and we know that they do come from God. So I had shared this weapon that I had in the dream. And, you know, now when I look at it, I believe this piece of weaponry is called the Day Star. So, where was I? Ultimately, God's purpose was to exalt the daughters of light and to judge the sons of darkness. The message is one of hope in the face of such. They've got perverse evil, and it's sexual, material, and violence. That's what we're undergoing in this crucible. So the daughters of light are encouraged to persevere to the end, right? Don't let them beat you down. Don't let them ensnare you with a lie, entrap them with a lie, entrap you with a lie. Don't let them do that. Go in and study the Old Testament for yourself. Get down on your knees and ask the Holy One to teach you her truth from herself. And ask her, if you don't think you're capable of doing it, and I didn't think I was, right? You know, if she can help you reason it out, and she will. She will do that for you. I really believe that. The daughters of light are encouraged to persevere to the end. God was preparing to intervene and bring a permanent solution for these daughters for the problem of evil. So this is the purpose, ultimately, in the end, a permanent solution to this wickedness that has come in. And we see that also referenced in Romans 11. If the casting away of these righteous daughters as your cornerstone, as your foundation in the beginning, was cast away, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? So she's looking for that permanent solution. And when the daughters of Israel got cast out amongst the Gentiles, it's allegorical to the Azazel goat that was cast out into a wilderness, a dry desert land. And eventually that dry desert land becomes very nourished by her water. Once again, is kind of the idea behind it all. So the scroll itself is one of the first 7 texts found by the Bedouin in 1947. 19 columns of text are preserved. Okay, so we don't need to read that. We're just wasting time reading that. You can go in and read that. So, the description of the eschatological war. So, this is what's going to take place, I think, after we live this life. And that's why we see this stacking order going up. We're being prepared in what part of the battle we're actually going to wage our personal battle in. And if we look at first, second, and third heaven, it is the second heaven where Satan rules from. And we know from the New Testament, if we pull up the word, I think it's principle, we're told that the principality and the powers of the air rules from the second heaven, is what we're told. And this is the battle where is really going to go head to head. And you'll find that in the verse when she who is like God finally stands up for her children. And that means she takes on the battle. She determines to take on the battle. And it's in this eschatological war in the next life. And so as we come to the end here, we're also going to be in the end of that battle, is what it looks like, is what I'm speculating. So eschatology, the part of theology concerned with death, judgment, and the final destiny of the soul and humankind. So we know there's a first, second, and third heaven. And it's in the second heaven, the heart, where the heart is, where the soul and spirit, if you look at the first, second, third heaven, the second heaven is this middle part of the body, and where the real battle is being made. And man exalted the harlot in his heart, and she by extension did the same thing when she followed his teachings into that snare of lies. And so what happens is she begins to wake up her daughters, and she's stacking her own battle. That's what it's going to tell us here. She's getting them picked out for her own army is what she's doing. And so we see that getting prepared for the second heaven battle, when she who's like God stands up for her children in battle and sends the dragon, right, scurrying away. And that's what this is concerning. So we ain't there yet, I don't think. This life, this crucible is preparing what part of that battle we're going to actually fight in. So for the instructor, the rule of the war, the first attack of the daughters of light shall be undertaken against the forces of the sons of darkness. The army of Baal, the troops of Edom, Moab, the sons of Ammon, the Amalekites, Philistia, and the troops of Kittim of Ashur. Supporting them are those who have violated the covenant. The sons of Levi, the sons of Judah, that's the south kingdom, and the sons of Benjamin. Those exiled to the wilderness shall fight against them with, and it's got blank. So they're saying there's parts of these scrolls that they don't know what they're saying. So the south kingdom male will fight against the daughters of the north kingdom Israel. That's what you're getting out of that. That's in there. That's in the Bible. So this is after we die, the part of theology concerned with death and judgment. And it kind of lines up that it's after, because, when you get reading Revelation, it speaks of this army of 200 million strong. That's a lot of people, 200 million. And it's hard to contemplate, an army that's got 200 million. Not so much in the next one to come. It's a lot easier to contemplate, an army that's 200 million strong when you look out in the second heaven and what's there. So where was I? Against them, so in the wilderness shall fight against them with blank, against all their troops, when the exiles of the daughters of light. So this is explained in the Bible as of the remnant daughters of Israel. In Zephaniah 3, Micah 4, Jeremiah 30 or 31, etc. We've looked at them. Isaiah 49, they're called the daughters of. They're called the light of the world. So, and it's a feminine that's being referenced, Ephraim. So against the troops, when the exiles of the daughter of light return from the wilderness of the peoples to the camp in the wilderness of Jerusalem. So those were the women in exile, when the exiles of the daughter of light, right? The remnant daughters of Israel. We've looked at that. Sorry, I don't mean to blather on. So then after the battle they shall go up from that place, and the king of the Kittim shall enter into Egypt. So we know that the witnesses died in a place called Sodom in Egypt. That's right, we know that this must be the portion of the battle that's being undertook at this time, because that's what we've got referenced in this Bible. In his time he shall go forth with great wrath to do battle against the queens of the north. And in his anger he shall set out to destroy and eliminate the strength of Israel. So that was the daughters. They're called the strong ones of God. And it was women that defended them against the great death, which was the harlot spirit that will lead you into death. When she allows you to teach your own laws and lies upon this earth, we end up with a beast system, we end up with a violent system, we end up with a system of nothing but death. He can't resurrect. She's the only one that can do that. We're told that. When we get actually understanding the truth as the daughters of light. So he shall set out to destroy and eliminate the strength of Israel, the daughters of light. And he did. He did set out to do that, and he did do it for a while. So then there shall be a time of salvation for the people of God, and a time of dominion for all the women of her forces. because Israel, the daughter of Zion, was promised the dominion would be restored back to her. And it's not talking about men or a man. It is indeed talking about the women in Israel. That's why it says her dominion shall be restored back to her, right? And eternal annihilation for all the forces of Belial, the sons of darkness. And that's why we've been forced to bear this in the crucible, because God was looking for a permanent solution, that in the end there would be nothing left to have to deal with these sons of darkness. So that's why she's permitted it to go this way. There shall be great panic among the sons of Japheth. Now, I've got Gentiles, but the Semitic line was said to come through Sheth, right? Sheth. And it was Japheth and Cush that would be considered your Gentiles. But what you have to take into account is that the real daughters of Israel, got cast out amongst the Gentiles to claim them as their own children, which is where the 10 northern tribes, or great army, is actually going to come from. The daughters of light that she's going to stack her army with. That's what it says in here. So Assyria shall fall with no one to come to his aid, and the supremacy of the Kittim shall cease. That wickedness be overcome without a remnant. It means sons of Belial will have no remnant. There'll be none left to take up his mantle or his cause. They're permanently, finally wiped out of existence, according to this. There shall be no survivors at all of all the sons of darkness, permanently wiped out. Then the daughters of righteousness shall shine till all the ends of the world, continuing to shine forth until the end of the appointed seasons of darkness. Then at that time appointed by God, her great excellence shall shine, that's the glory, for all the times of eternity, for peace and blessing, glory and joy. Doesn't it sound great? And long life for all daughters of light. On the day when the Kittim, Ashir, fall, there shall be a battle and horrible carnage before the God of Israel. For it is a day appointed by her from ancient times as a battle of annihilation for the sons of darkness. So we see this really happening in here. And so when it says on the day, we know that she is promised to be the covenant of light in Isaiah 49. She says, you are my servant, Israel. She's referring to her daughters. And I will give you as a light for this covenant that was supposed to be established and was rejected. So we are in battle in the second heaven. We just can't see it. We see men down here, but it's all in attempt to manipulate you in the crucible to take up his part in the second heaven and battle for the sons of darkness, when in actuality, Mother promises there's a purpose, and it is to wake you up in the end and to take back what rightfully belongs to the daughters of light. All right? Now, where is it? It's a day of disaster, is a time of distress for all the people who are redeemed by God. Okay, I gotta backtrack here. On that day, yeah. Okay, sorry. Okay, so, shall be a battle in horrible carnage before the God of Israel. For it is a day appointed by her from ancient times as a battle of annihilation for the sons of darkness. On that day, the congregation, we've discovered what the congregation was. It was of women. Of the gods, that's the women of Israel, because Israel was known as God wrestles. That's the meaning of Israel. And God wrestles because it was the daughters of Israel, the daughters of light, battling against the sons of darkness who came to exalt the harlot spirit in his heart so he could play God and write the laws and make everything dark. That's right, through a violent and beast system. So the congregation of the gods, that's the women of Israel, and the congregation of men shall engage one another, resulting in great carnage. This is going to take place in the second heaven when she finally stands up for what rightfully belongs to the light. So the daughters of light and the forces of darkness shall fight together to show the strength of God with the roar of a great multitude and the shout of women and men, gods and men, it says, a day of disaster. It's a great day of disaster, which she experienced in Isaiah 22 when they came against the daughters and the glory of Israel to cast them down. It was a day of great perplexing, great confusion, and it's spoken of in Isaiah 22 when they did this to her. And now here's the promise that they're going to do it back in this final battle that they're going to win. It is a time of distress, right, for all. So that was such as was not at any time. That's in Daniel 12, verse 1. A great time of distress will come upon the earth like there was never before. I wonder if we weren't just through it. I wonder if it isn't referencing the great battle that is to come, right, in the actual spiritual realm. It was shown here in a very different way. And so you wonder if it isn't, foretelling of what is to come in the next life, the next great battle that's going to be done when she stands up for her children. So it is a time of distress for all the people who are redeemed by God. In all their afflictions, none exists like is like this, like that is like it, hastening to its completion as an eternal redemption. On the day of their battle against the Kittim, that's the fallen sons, they shall go forth for carnage and battle. In 3 lots, the daughters of light shall stand firm, so as to strike a blow at wickedness. And in 3, the army of Belial shall strengthen themselves, so as to force the retreat of the forces of light. We have been forced to retreat. And when the banners of the infantry cause their hearts to melt, now I have something here. These banners were mentioned in Isaiah as the standards of the daughters of Israel rising once again. And when they rise, the third heaven, there's the first, second, third heaven. The third heaven bears witness to these banners rising. That's the daughters of light standing up for themselves again. And when they see these rise, and when the banners of the infantry cause their hearts to melt, right? Then the strength of God will strengthen the hearts of the daughters of light. In the 7th lot, the great hand of God shall overcome Belial, the sons of darkness, the sons of worthlessness, and all the angels of his dominion, and all the men of his forces shall be destroyed forever. So Belial, Adam, the liar, Satan, we were able to link a series of words back to the accuser, Satan, as Adam, the first man of the covenant who violated it and said, I don't want her. I want a harlot because I'm going to write my own laws. So the annihilation of the sons of darkness and service to God during the war. Do I want to read this? Because we do got to get moving. Yes. The holy ones shall shine forth in support of blank. They got it blanked. They don't know what it says. So the holy ones, we see them in Song of Songs 6:10. I go reference it. And they are going to shine like the moon, and shine like the dawn. They're going to be as bright as the moon, fair as the moon, and bright as the sun. So we see the holy ones, and that's all in reference to her and her host. When they stand up in the second heaven, right? These daughters of light, we've discussed this, the 144,000 hold no guile. And so, this is the actual eschatological battle that we're going to be in the next existence, is what it looks like to me. So the Holy One shall shine forth in support of blank, the truth for the annihilation of the sons of darkness. Then blank, a great war, blank. They took hold of the implements of war. Well, I was shown taking hold of this and a sword. I had some other things too. But I was shown with this one, so I don't know what part of that battle, what part of the army that puts me in. So, implements of war, chiefs of the tribes, and the priest, or it could be rendered priestesses, the Levites, the chiefs of the tribes, and the mothers, not the fathers, the mothers of the congregation, blank. The priests, and thus for the Levites in the courses of the heads of the congregation clans, 52. They shall rank the chiefs of the priests after the chief priest and her deputy, 12 chief priests to serve in the regular offering before God. Okay, we're finally on page 4. Oh my gosh. We better get moving. The chief of the courses, 26, shall serve. Do we need this part? No. We'll skip through this. The chiefs of the tribes and the mothers of the congregation shall support them, taking their stand continually at the gates of the sanctuary. We know the gates are called daughter Israel's gates, daughter Zion's gate. We get that reference in Psalm 9, Psalm 24, if anybody can put it together. The chiefs of their courses from the age of 50 upwards. Why the age of 50 and upwards? Those are your wise women. Yeah. Shall take their stand with their commissioners on their festivals. Okay, these shall take their stand at the, and they've got these festival dates. I don't think so. I think it's Av 15th, the great celebration of the Spirit finally prevailing. That's what I think. That's what I got in there. I don't know why it says. It says something about their sacrifices and their festivals. God says, I require no blood of you. Though, this may actually be the blood covenant in view when she actually has to go to war to cut away the wicked men and the harlots in order to establish the kingdom of light again. So this has to be permissible in some sense. So it may be, this is the sacrifices that she's willing to accept, the cutting away of the wicked. That's what we're looking at. These take their stand at the Av 15th celebration, that's mine, to arrange the sweet-smelling incense. So it's a sweet-smelling incense that gets offered here, because you don't want no stench from Baal, the lord of dung, husband who wants to play God, and the sons of Belial. So there may indeed be permitted some kind of an incense, according to the will of God, to atone for all her congregation. That's the death that's had to come into the land. And to satisfy themselves before her continually at the table of her glory. All of these they shall arrange at the time of the year of remission. At the time of the year. So the time would be Av 15th, I think. I don't know what the year is. So during the remaining 33 years of the war, the women of renown, those called of the congregation, and all the heads of the congregation's clans, shall choose for themselves, this was it, shall choose for themselves women of war for all the lands of the nations. Yeah, I know I was chosen. I'm chosen to battle in this next existence. And I was gave this to battle with, and I believe it's called the 8th day star. That's what I think now. That's what it's called. So they're going to choose out the ones that they want. The 144, she says, and it says it in Romans 11, you are divinely selected. You are selected for the purpose. I had a dream where I was called forth before the throne. And I also gave that in one of my videos. And it was nothing like what I thought. But it says, many are called, few are chosen. And now I'm starting to think that it's for this particular battle in the second heaven where we take back the heart, right? It's not a harlot that's to rule the man or the woman. She followed his way when she was not supposed to follow his way. She built an idol up, and now she's carrying it like a donkey on her back. We did a video on that as well. So they will choose out for themselves from all tribes of Israel. They shall prepare capable women for themselves to go out for battle according to the summons of the war year by year. So we see a stacking order in what part of the battle you're actually going to be in. Now we think we're in the end, and it sure feels that way, doesn't it? But yet when we reference the part of the battle to do with Egypt and the witnesses dying in Egypt, we tend to think that maybe there's a little bit more to this battle. We just think we're to the end when we're really not yet. But we're definitely in the battle. We've always been in the battle, right? And it's just playing out to those who are alive now. You know, we think we're in the end. We may be, we may not. But and yet at the same time, it is the end battle that's being waged. So according to the summons year by year. But during the years of remission, now I put over that, the years of remission, the lie of Baal. That's what I put. But during the lie of Baal, or the sons of Belial's rule, they shall not ready women to go out for battle. So am I an indication, understanding what I've understood, that we're getting ready to go out again into battle in the second heaven? So shall not ready women to go out for battle. For it is a Sabbath, a rest for Israel. I don't think it's a Sabbath. No, it's not a Sabbath. And during the 35 years of service, the war shall be waged. For 6 years, now I know this has all got, a connection in the Old Testament. I just don't know what it is. I know I've read about the divisions of priests and all that, and soldiers and all that. No, I don't know what that is. For 6 years, the whole congregation shall wage it together. The war of division shall be waged during the 29 remaining years, and in the final year, they shall fight against Mesopotamia. So these may well have already played out in this great battle, heavenly battle that's going on, right? So parts of this obviously has already played itself out. In the second against the sons of Lud, L-U-D. In the third they shall fight against the rest of the sons of Aram, Uz, Hul, Togar, and Mesha, who are beyond the Euphrates. In the fourth and fifth they shall fight against the sons of Arpachshad, I can't say the name, Arpachshad. And in the sixth and in the seventh they shall fight against all the sons of Assyria and Persia, and the easterners up to the great desert. In the 8th year they shall fight against the sons of Elam. In the 9th year they shall fight against the sons of Ishmael and Keturah. And during the following 10 years the war shall be divided against all the sons of Ham, according to their clans and their territories. So Ham, again, it links us back to Egypt. And yet it says that following 10 years the war shall be divided against the sons of Ham, according to their clans and their territories. During the remaining 10 years the war shall be divided against all the sons of Japheth, according to their territories. So we got the division and the breaking apart of nations there. Okay, so we got a description of the trumpets. The rule of the trumpets, a trumpet's alarm for all their service, for their commission. Now, I can't help but think a trumpet in some way. I'm trumpeting what the seventh trumpets, and yet this is just a portion of the battle playing out. So, I'm not the only trumpet. To trumpet something means that you're speaking it aloud. What you're being told to speak, you're trumpeting it. Now, it's a whole other matter whether they actually listen to the sound of the trumpet or whether they totally dismiss it as if it's nothing. I'm just telling you how, I feel, when something speaks loud and it's a form of trumpeting. You're trumpeting something. So upon the trumpets which they shall write, the trumpets of the battle formation, trumpets for assembling them, when the gates of the war opened so that the infantry might advance, the trumpets for the signal of the slain, trumpets of the ambush, and it goes on here, trumpets of pursuit, enemy is defeated, the trumpets of reassembly when the battle returns. On the trumpet for assembly of the congregation they shall write, the called of God. And that's what you are if you're one of this 144,000 called up to battle in as a daughter of light against the sons of darkness. You are called the called of God. That's what you are. On the trumpets for the assembly of the chiefs they shall write, the principles of God. So female first fruits. So these are all names gave to the same group On the trumpets of the formation they shall write the rule of God. They are the rule of God as well. On the trumpets of the women of renown they shall write the heads of the congregation clans. As being part in this great army, you are claiming a portion for yourself, in a sense. Then, when they are assembled at the house of the meeting, they shall write the testimonies of God for a holy congregation. So these are our testimonies playing out in the second heaven when we actually go into battle as a daughter of light for the things that are righteous, to cut away the sons of darkness who have written laws of violence, a beast system against us. They've caused death in the land, and the harlots that bow at their feet, allowing them to do that instead of coming on side with the daughters of light to fight what is wicked in the land. And a religious lie is what helped build the beast system up. And the daughters of light is fighting against that in the second heaven. She was like God, not Michael. Again, there you got the battle that they won, putting Michael. No, she was like God when she stands up for her children. That's right. There'll be a time of distress on this earth like never before. And so I think we're moving into that great distress again. I say we may have passed it, and it may be showing you that great distress that's to come in the second heaven, in this great final battle we think that's playing out, getting ready to play out, has always been playing out. We're just living in the physical as opposed to the spiritual, which is the second heaven, where the principality, powers, and the authorities rule, and they're fighting against that. So the mighty deeds of God to scatter the enemy and to put all those who hate her, hate justice in her, to flight, and a withdrawal of mercy from all who hate God, hate her. On the trumpet of the battle formations they shall write formations of the divisions of God to avenge her anger on all the sons of darkness. On the trumpets for assembling the infantry when the gates of war open, that they might go out against the battle line of the enemy, they shall write a remembrance. That word was quite important to me. It took me to Strong's Greek 3:415. A remembrance of requital. So that's the controversy of Zion. She's in battle now for herself against the powers of darkness, the sons of darkness, the daughters of light are. Of requital, that's controversy. That's when God remembers her firstborn once again. At the appointed time of God, on the trumpets of the slain they shall write the hand of the might of God in battle, so as to bring down all the slain because of their unfaithfulness. We find Adam or Judah, who dealt treacherously and unfaithful with God, and the wife of his youth, which was Israel, the daughters of Israel, known as God upon the land. So treachery, it's against the daughters of light of Israel. They dealt treacherously with the wife of the original covenant, which was the daughter of light. So the hand of the might of God in battle, so as to bring down all the slain because of unfaithfulness. On the trumpet of ambush, they shall write the mysteries of God to wipe out wickedness. So here it's saying there's 7 mysteries. Or was that a different passage I was reading? There were 7 mysteries. That was the peacock angel, that the 7 mysteries would finally be revealed. Here we have the 7 trumpets, and this one here is called, on this trumpet, the mysteries of God to wipe out wickedness. Well, the mystery of God was that daughter Zion, the daughter herself, was the cornerstone rejected as the daughter of light before the foundation of the world. And they put in play a harlot spirit so they could exalt themselves, these sons of darkness, and write their own law and create a real beast system with the harlot that exalts him. That's right. On the trumpet of pursuit they shall write, God has struck all the sons of darkness. She shall not abate her anger until they are annihilated, until they are completely wiped out. When they return from battle to enter their formation, they shall write on the trumpets of retreat, God has gathered. That's the assembler gathering her troops, the Asaph gathering her troops. And she does it by teaching truth. That's how you gather your great army in this battle, is by teaching the truth. On the trumpets for the way of return from battle with the enemy to enter the congregation in Jerusalem, they shall write, rejoicing of God in a peaceful return. That's when the remnant daughters of Israel finally make their way to Israel, once again, which is theirs. Okay. So the description of the banners, we're only on page 5. Rule of the banners of the whole congregation according to their formation. On the grand banner, which is at the head of all the people, they shall write people of God. The names of Israel, and it says Aaron. I wonder if it shouldn't be Ariel, daughter, Israel. But Ariel is the one singled out in Isaiah 29. So I'm thinking it may be an individual name. It may not be. But here, people of God, the names Israel, and I think it should be Ariel. It should not be Aaron, a priest, because we know that no males are allowed in their camp later on when we get reading. So I don't tend to think this is a man. I don't think this is a man. They're not allowed in the camp of the women. They're simply not allowed there. So that's why I question. I don't think it's Aaron. If there's priests here, as it indicates there is, they're female. I know. So the names Israel and Ariel. And the names of the 12 tribes of Israel according to their order of birth. On the banners of the heads of the camps of the 3 tribes they shall write the Spirit of God. That's what she's called. And the names of the 3 tribes. On the banners of each tribe they shall write the standard of God. We're the standard. That's right. We're not a harlot. We're the standard of God. And she says, and she threatens them, I ain't ruling through no harlot. That's her standard. I ain't ruling through a harlot spirit that bows to a man. You were created equal. You were made equal. And he lied, and you listened when I told you differently. And the name of the leader of the tribe and of its clans. In each tribe they shall write, the standard of God, the name of the leader of the 10,000s, the name of the chiefs of her hundreds, on the banner of Merari. So the name Merari here is derived from 4843 and also 4847 if you want to go there. And that means to be bitter. So we know that these are women. Naomi says, the Lord has dealt bitterly with me. Call me not Naomi. My name's Naomi, by the way. My name's not Mara. But yeah, you can become embittered by when you get a handle of the truth and just how many lies and the hole that they truly did dig. This pit that they did dig for us to fall into. Historical pit when you get looking back through it. They have taught a lot of lies to cause us to fall into this snare. The fowler's snare. Right? And so, Merari, it means to be bitter. They have sorely grieved her. They have shot at her and hated her. And also, 4848, pass by, cause to flow, water course. I don't know why I got that there, but I'm sure it would become, I would understand if I went in. I didn't make notes thinking I would remember them, but it's been weeks since I've been in this scroll. So, on the banner of Merari they shall write the offering of God. That's right. You don't offer up a harlot in a basket as a curse on the world. You offer up her first fruits, the best that she has. And the name of the leader of Merari and the names of the chiefs of her thousands. On the banner of the thousands they shall write, the anger of God is loosed against Belial and all the men of his forces without remnant. This is her wrath playing out. And we said it was daughter Israel's wrath. And her number is 136. And she is sitting to the high priest now. So we come into some dispute here who it is sitting beside her as 113. And beside, we know it's mother's number 3068 in Psalm 110. And the wrath does so belong to her because the kings rejected her spirit in covenant. Okay. So she is, where am I? In the names of the chief of the thousands, and on the banner of the 50 they shall write, and it is the stand of the wicked by the might of God. The might of God is the daughters of Israel. And the name of the chief of the 50, names of the chief of her tens, and on the banner of the 10 they shall write, songs of joy for God on the 10-stringed harp. That's a lyre, I think, or lyre. And the name of the chief of the 10 and the names of the 9 women in her command. When they go to battle, they shall write on their banners the truth of God. That's the mothers of truth. Emet. That's what. Em is mother in Hebrew. Met is death. And emet is truth. So only when you have your mother, em, there, you can't erase the E-O. You erase the E, you'll get met, you'll get death, is what you'll get. So here we have the truth of God. And I think that's the seal of truth, in these daughters' forehead. They are the truth of their mother, the covenant of God, true living God standing. So the righteousness of God, the glory of God, the justice of God, and after these the list of their names in full. When they draw near for battle, they shall write on their banners the right hand of God. Yeah, Isaiah 51, Isaiah 52, Psalm 89. The appointed time of God. So I think when we see me and other daughters like me coming into existence, I think we're coming up on that time, the appointed time of God. We're coming up at that time is what we're hitting towards. The tumult of God, the slain of God. After these, their names in full. When they return from battle, they shall write on their banners the exaltation of God, the greatness of God, the praise of God, the glory of God, with their names in full. The rule of the banners of the congregation. When they set out to battle, they shall write on the first banner the congregation of God. We've looked at that. That's the congregation of women that met in the north and called God. On the second banner, the camps of God. That's the presence of God, Mahanaim. On the tribes of God, On the fourth, the clans of God. On the fifth, the division of God, the divisions of God. On the sixth, the congregation of God. On the seventh, those called by God. And on the eighth, the army of God. They shall write their names in full with all their order. When they draw near for battle, they shall write on their banners the battle of God. The recompense of God, the cause of God, the reprisal of God, the power of God, the retribution of God, the might of God. The annihilation by God of all the vainglorious nations. That's Isaiah 63, yeah. And allegorical, her outer garment is red. That's right. So that's the battle. That's the cutting away. And their names in full they shall write upon them. When they return from battle, they shall write on their banners. Is there anything else? Page 6. Okay, so we're getting there. The deliverance of God. The victory of God. Who's that? 3444. Strong's Hebrew. They deliver you from the powers of darkness. They do by winning the battle of truth. So the help of God. They're also the help, the great help. Azir. And it's only used of God and of the woman in her creation account. Your great help. They're going to win the battle for you. They are. They're the daughters of light. The support of God, the joy of God, the thanksgiving of God, the praise of God, and the peace of God. That's nice. The length of the banners, we can skip that. I ain't going to bother that. The description of the shields, I'm going to skip that, okay? Now we're going to fall down to the description of the arming and the deployment of the divisions. And we're not necessarily going to read all of it. We'll skip it pretty quick. The video's getting pretty long. So the rule for arranging the divisions for war when the army is complete to make a forward battle line. The battle line shall be formed of 1,000 women. There shall be 7 forward rows to each battle line, arranged in order. The station of each woman behind her fellow. Ooh, this sounds reminiscent of Joel 2, doesn't it? Yeah. All of them shall bear shields of bronze, and it says there's not an army like this Lord's army. In Joel, I believe it's Joel 2:11, and the Lord that's speaking there is daughter Zion 136. This is her great army. This is her daughters of light in battle against the sons of darkness. And they, each woman behind her fellow. That's right. So it says, even when you are struck through with sword, none shall die. You don't die. All of them shall bear shields of bronze, polished like a a face mirror. The shield shall be bound with a border of plaited work and a design of loops, the work of a skillful workwoman. Gold, silver, bronze bound together in jewels. I think the second heaven is operating very differently than the first heaven here, which we are shown that we fell. Now they fell to some degree, but the daughters of light is still in battle against the powers of darkness, the sons of darkness. And that's where, when we leave this life, we're actually going to go into battle. Is what it looks like. That's what it looks like. The eschatological definition itself would imply that that's exactly what it means. So all of them shall bear shields of bronze, polished like the face of a mirror. Okay, we'll go. And they're jeweled. A multicolored brocade. It is the work of a skillful workwoman. The length of the shield shall be 2.5 cubits. So they're awfully big shields. Are we bigger? I don't know. It is the work of a skillful workwoman, artistically done. The length of the shield, 2.5 cubits. I just read that. In their hands they shall hold a lance and a sword. Yeah, I see that. The length of the lance shall be 7 cubits, of which the socket and the blade constitutes half a cubit. So I don't think we need to go over this. But there is great beauty being referenced here with the weaponry, ironically. The socket shall be grooved. The blade shall be of shining white iron. So it's going to shine, and your blade or your sword is allegorical to your word of truth. And it's made of shining white iron. What does she promise the daughter of Israel? I'll make your horns of iron, right? Your hooves of brass. You will beat and consecrate the gain of the whole world. You're going to do that. That's your job to do it. You're in this battle. And you may be on the wrong side right now, and you don't even know it, because you're falling for a lie in the crucible right now where you're being tested, which side you're going to actually battle in. So the sword shall be of refined iron, purified in the furnace, and polished like a face mirror. So you get the allegory, silver, truth, purified in the furnace, right? The crucible. So we're actually being responsible to some degree in the formation of our own weapons that we're going to go into battle with in our next life. I would think you'd want the best. That's what I would think. So the work of a skillful workwoman, artistically done, with figures of ears of grain. There you go. Pure gold embossed on both sides. That's representing us, the first fruits. The borders shall go straight to the point. It's also representing the harvest, right? 2 on each side. The length of the sword shall be 1.5 cubits, and its width 4 fingers. The scabbard shall be 4 thumbs wide, and 4 handbreadths up to the scabbard. The scabbard shall be tied on either side with the thongs of 5 handbreadths. The handle of the sword shall be of a choice horn, the work of a skillful workwoman, and a variegated, a very colored design with gold and silver and precious stones. So, briefly, when I was holding this weapon, I think you're defined by the colors that you're wearing, what portion you're going to be in. But I had on this riding jacket. I had on white riding pants, and I said I may have had something on my head. I just don't remember what. And I had this weapon, right? And I could take it off of my waist where it hung. Once it contracted back, it would roll onto this whip-like thing that would go solid, and it would roll off. And I was striking at things in the dark, and I was hitting them. And I was leaning up against a pile of rocks, is what I said I was doing, and there was a bright light shining down on me when I was doing this. And I had a great big grin on my face. I was a happy, content person, and I can tell you I'm not always a happy camper. So I really liked this personification of this person that looked just like me. I really liked the fact that she was happy. And but I had this glittering jacket on. And the colors were, I had told what the colors were there. I got the colors somewhere here. They were a powder blue, a white, clear crystal, and amber orange. That's not it. I got it here somewhere. Oh, I thought I brought it. You just a second. Give me a second. Do I not have it with me? Well, I thought I had it. I'm sorry, folks. I don't have it there. I thought I had colored it out somewhere. I'm sorry. Anyway, they were these bright glittering stones. And like I said, one was powder blue, one was clear crystal, and one was amber orange. And my coat was just made up of all those gemstones. And when it speaks of the stones that walks up and down, on the ladder, if you could picture an army with just this jacket on, just one small portion of this great mighty army, can you imagine what they would look like, just glittering in the light? If you took, say, 1,000 women with this glittering jacket on that I've seen, and standing there in their appointed spot, can you imagine what that would look like? 1,000 of us standing there with this brightly colored jacket on. And then if you took 3 different colors and they were set in their place, and can you imagine what this army must look like? Can you imagine? If it's based on the dream that I had, and I'm just telling you what I've seen in my dream. So I do believe I'm a member of this mighty army that we're battling in. So anyway, it's just a glorious light is what it's going to look like. And when the blank take their stand, they shall range 7 battle lines, one behind the other, and there shall be a space between blank, 30 cubits where the infantry shall stand forward. They shall sling 7 times. So that number is very important. So they sling 7 times, and then they return to their position. That's very important. Organization is very important, what we're doing. After them 3 divisions of infantry shall advance and stand between the battle lines. The first division shall heave into the enemy battle line 7 battle darts. On the blade of the first dart they shall write, "Flash of a spear for the strength of God." I like those. On the second weapon they shall write, "Missiles of blood to fell the slain by the wrath of God." On the third dart they shall write, "The blade of a sword devours the slain of wickedness by the judgment of God." Each of these they shall throw 7 times and then return to their position. After these, 2 divisions of infantry shall march forth and stand between the 2 battle lines. The first division equipped with a spear and a shield, and the second division with a shield and a sword, to bring down the slain by the judgment of God, to subdue the battle line of the enemy by the power of God, and to render recompense for their evil for all their vain, glorious nations. So the Lord's battle. I don't know what I got there. So it shall belong to the God of Israel, and by the holy ones of her people she shall act powerfully. So here we got the description of the deployment of the cavalry. 7 row of horsewomen. See, I was in a riding outfit. I know they were riding pants and this riding jacket. So that's what it's. 7 rows of horsewomen shall also take position at the right and at the left of the battle line. Their ranks shall be positioned on both sides. 700 horsewomen on one side and 700 on the other. 200 horsewomen shall go out with 1,000 women of the battle line of the infantry, and thus they shall take position on all sides of the camp. The total being 4,600 women and 1,400 cavalry for the entire army arranged for the battle line, 50 for each line. The horsewomen with the cavalry of the women of the entire army will be 6,000, 500 to a tribe. All the cavalry that goes out into battle with the infantry shall ride. It's got steeds, I think. I've got mares, swift mares. I know I gave a mare in one of my dreams, and I named her Rios, River. That's what I named. And I was told they're very faithful. They'll follow you to death. Well, they have to if you're going to ride them in battle. Responsive, and I'll tell you, I'm not a horse rider. I always want a horse. Always did. When I was a little girl, I still love them. I'm so intimidated by them. I don't come from horse country. I come from fisherman territory. That's where I come from. So it's weird that I was pictured in a riding, type outfit. I know I was gave a horse in one of my dreams, and that I called the horse Rios, and that I wasn't the least bit intimidated by this mare. She was a beautiful mare. They're swift, they're responsive, they're unrelenting, mature, and they're trained for the battle. That's what it says there. And accustomed to hearing noises and seeing all kinds of scenes. Those who ride them shall be women capable in battle, trained in horsewomanship. Yeah, I need it. The range of their age from 30 to 45 years. I'm a bit over that. The horsewomen of the army shall... So I think it's showing us our next life, of course. The horsewomen of the army shall be from 40 to 50 years old. Yeah, and they blank helmets and greaves, carrying in their arms round shields, a large 8-cubit long blank, and a bow and arrows and battle darts, all of them prepared in blank, and to shed the blood of their guilty slain. Look at that. It's almost saying you're guilty and you're slain from the time you leave this existence. But they're still all in the grave yet, right? And the resurrection belongs to her. So there's another story in there that we're not hearing yet, right? That's what I think. So we're missing a part is what I'm saying. So the guilty slain is the cutting away of the foreskin. So the recruitment and age of the soldiers, the women of wisdom, and the women of the army shall be from 40 to 50 years old. So you got to have a little bit of knowledge to you. You got to have a little bit of experience behind you. Such as in this word, this is where you're going to get your sharp, glittering sword from. That's where you're going to get it from. The commissioners of the camps shall be from 50 to 60 years old. The officers shall also be from 40 to 50. I think we'll skip that for the sake of time because we're getting long here. Let's go back. No one crippled, blind, or lame, nor a woman who has a permanent blemish on her skin, or a woman affected with ritual uncleanness of her flesh, none of these shall go with them to battle. All of them shall be volunteers for battle, pure of spirit and flesh, and prepared for the day of vengeance. So what was the day of vengeance that we discovered in the Old Testament? It's called the day of the Lord, and it's about the controversy of Zion. The controversy of Zion was about man, Baal, Belial exalting the harlot in his heart so he could play God. And his harlots are basically his doormat. That's why we're against the sons of darkness. The women don't fight in this battle. They just backing. That's what they do. Because they're too busy being his doormat to stand up for truth. And then we have the daughters of light on this side. This is the controversy of Zion. That's what it's about. That's what the day of the Lord is about. And that controversy is about them splitting the pleasant land into two covenants, one a harlot that bows to him, and one that became the outcast that no man sought a covenant with, that are actually identified as the daughters of light, still in deep battle against the sons of darkness and his harlots that bow to it. So, all of them shall be volunteers for battle, pure of spirit and flesh, and prepared for the day of vengeance. Any woman who is not ritually clean in respect to, never mind, shall not go down, for holy angels are present with their army. There shall be a distance between all their camps in the latrine, and no shameful nakedness shall be seen in the environs of all their camps. You don't walk around half naked, right? You don't do that. No. And we as women don't do that. I don't parade around in front of anybody else. That's not their right. It's not right at all. And this indicates that. There'll be no shameful nakedness shall be seen. So the ministry and the priestesses and the Levites. So we know Miriam was actually one of these, though they don't want to give her credit for that. God says, I gave you Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. And then we completely disregard Miriam. There shall go forth from the middle opening into the gap between the battle lines. It speaks of how they're dressed. So I'm not sure if this isn't priestesses. Because there was, the men were not allowed, no males were allowed in camp. And I'm not sure that I didn't just skip that, where it said that. Yeah, no youth nor man shall enter their encampment from the time they leave Jerusalem to go to battle until they return. You see? So that's why I question if the priests, they're not male. They can't be. They're not allowed to be. Because it says, no youth nor man shall enter their encampments from the time they leave for battle. And yet we have the priests, supposedly here, because they're with the sons of light. These are the daughters of light. So there's no man allowed in their camp, youth or otherwise. They're not allowed there. So the ministry of the priestesses and Levites, that's what I think this is. It speaks of them, the priestesses going into the battle with them, is what it speaks. They shall walk before all the women of the battle line to encourage them for the battle. In the hand of the remaining 6 shall be the trumpets of assembly, the trumpets of memorial, the trumpets of alarm, the trumpets of pursuit, the trumpets of assembly. Now we saw that in the Old Testament again. When the priestesses, I'll say, go out into the gap between the battle lines, 7 Levites shall go out with them. In their hand shall be 7 trumpets of ram's horns, it says. That could easily be she-goat horns. It could easily be heifer horns, cow horns. 3 officers from among the Levites shall walk before the priestesses. And it says Levites, the priestess shall blow the 2 trumpets of assembly. On it goes. The trumpet shall blow continually to direct the sling woman until they have completed hurling 7 times. There we go again with the 7. Afterwards the priestesses shall blow the trumpet of return, and they'll return back to their position. So we read kind of all of this stuff, and they're used to signal the formation and the way that they will go into battle, the way that they will fight, when they will do their 7-time throwing into the battle. Is there anything in particular here that we needed to read? Horn shall blow a great battle alarm together in order to melt the heart of the enemy. With the sound of the alarm, the battle dart shall fly out to bring down the slain. Then the sound of I got cow's horns, shall quiet, but on the trumpets, the priestesses shall continue to blow a sharp staccato note to direct the signals of the battle until they have hurled into the battle line of the enemy 7 times. Afterward, the priestesses shall blow for them the trumpets of retreat, a low note, level, and legato. According to this, the rule, the priestesses shall blow for the 3 divisions. When the first division throws, the priestesses and the Levites and all the people with the horns shall blow a great alarm to direct the battle until they have hurled 7 times. Afterwards, the priestesses shall blow for them the trumpets of retreat, dash, another blank, and they shall take their stand in their position in the battle line, blank, and shall take up position, blank, the slain. And all the people with the horns shall blow a very loud battle alarm as the sound goes out. Their hands shall begin to bring down the slain. All right, page 9. And the people shall quiet the sound of the alarm, but the priestesses shall continue sounding on the trumpets, the slain to direct the fighting, until the enemy is defeated and turns in retreat. The priestesses blows the alarm to direct the battle, and when they have been defeated before them, the priestesses shall blow the trumpets of the assembly, and all the infantry shall go out to them from the midst of the front battle lines and stand, 6 divisions in addition to the division which is engaged in battle. Altogether, 7 battle lines, 28,000 soldiers, and 6,000 horsewomen. All these shall pursue in order to destroy the enemy in God's battle. A total annihilation. The priestesses shall blow for them the trumpets of pursuit, and they shall divide themselves for a pursuit of annihilation against all the enemy. The cavalry shall push the enemy back at the flanks of the battle until they are destroyed. When the slain have fallen, the priestesses shall continue blowing from afar and shall not enter into the midst of the slain, so as to be defiled by their unclean blood, for they are holy. They shall not allow the oil of the priestly anointments to be profaned with the blood of the vainglorious nations. So the description of the maneuvers of the battle, rule for changing the order of the battle division in order to arrange their positions against a pincer movement and towers, leon, arc and towers, and as it draws slowly forward, then the columns and the flanks go out from the two sides of the battle lines, that the enemy might become discouraged. The shields of the soldiers of the tower shall be 3 cubits long, and their lances 8 cubits long. The tower shall go out and from the battle line with 100 shields on a side. So we saw 300 shields made in Isaiah 22. For they shall surround the tower on the 3 frontal sides, 300 shields in all. So we saw this 300 shields being made by Solomon to be placed in the house in the forest of Lebanon, actually in Isaiah 22. And so we know in this battle in the valley of vision, it says it was a vision of confusion for the Lord. And the Lord there is 136. And so that was, I think, where she lost one of the 3, perhaps, battles. So we're just speculating, right? In Isaiah 22, because it says it was a confusing day for the day of the Lord. For the Lord, 136. She didn't want to watch her daughters lose the battle, but she apparently did watch them lose the battle. And this 300 shields is seen in Isaiah 22. So there shall be 3 gates to a tower, one on the right, one on the left. Upon all the shields of the tower, soldiers they shall ride on the first. I think, not Michael, they got Michael, but to whom it belongs. That who is like God, right? And to whom it belongs, right? Those who are willing to pick up the battle. On the second, it's got Gabriel. It's got all the names of the angels here, and this is all wrong. These will be names of the daughters of Israel. So they shall establish an ambush for the battle line of blank and blank. They shall fall on the slain blank. So the address of the priestess. Okay. Of our camps, and to keep ourselves from any shameful nakedness. That's right. And she, the Holy One, told us, you are in our midst a great and awesome God, plundering all our enemies before us. She taught us from of old throughout generations, saying, when you approach the battle, the priestesses shall stand and speak unto the people, saying, hear, O Israel, you are approaching the battle against your enemies today. Do not be afraid, nor faint-hearted. Do not tremble, nor be terrified because of them. For your God, she goes with you to fight for you against your enemies and to save you. That's Deuteronomy 20. Actually, I didn't write that. They did. So our officers shall speak to all those prepared for battle, those willing of heart, to strengthen them by the might of God, to turn back all who have lost heart, and to strengthen all the valiant warriors together. They shall recount that which you spoke by the hand of the Holy One, daughter Israel. They're going to recount it all. And when there is a war in your land against the adversary who attacks you, then you shall sound an alarm with the trumpets, that you might be remembered, remember, before your God, and be saved from your enemies. So the prayer of the chief priestess, she who is like God. It says, who is like you, O God of Israel? Well, she is like God. That's who's like God. She is the daughter of Israel, because she's called God upon this earth. So, who is like you, O God of Israel, in heaven and on earth, that she can perform? So, you see, we're seeing Michael, Micah, she who is like God. That's what we're seeing, Israel. She can perform in accordance with your great works and your great strength. Who is like your people, Israel, whom you have chosen for yourself, from all the prophets of the land, the peoples of the saints of the covenant, learned in the statutes, enlightened in understanding, right? Wisdom says, when I called, you couldn't be bothered to listen to me. So blank, those who hear the glorious voice and see the holy angels, whose ears are open, hearing deep things, right? You. You, one of the first fruits. O God, you have created the expanse of the sky, the host of the luminaries, the task of spirits, and the dominion of holy ones, the treasures of your glory, blank, clouds. She who created the earth and the limits of her divisions into wilderness and plain, and her offsprings with the fruits, the circle of the seas, the sources of the rivets, and the rift of the deeps, wild beasts and winged creatures, the form of woman, and the generations of her seed. That's right, it's her that gives life to all things. The confusion of languages and the separations of the people, the abode of clans and the inheritance of the lands, and the holy festivals, courses of the years, the times of eternity. These we know from your understanding, which your ears, blank, your ears to our cry, for blank, her house, blank, truly the battle is yours. And by the strength of your hand their corpses have been broken to pieces, without anyone to bury them. Indeed, Goliath the Gittite, a mighty man of valor, you delivered into the hand of your daughters of Israel. That's who took him down. Truly, David couldn't have done it. He couldn't have done it. It had to be the daughters that did it. Your servant, because she trusted in your great name. And understand, we lost this battle so that they took control of her word, and they wrote they wrote what they wanted to write, because they wanted to stack the deck against you. They wanted to stack their army. That's what they want to do with this lie. And so they have to say he, and they think, there's no way there's daughters of light's going to send any in that can figure it out, that the Spirit's going to teach and she's going to get it, They've discounted you. That's what they've done. And this Bible shows that they've done that. They intended to do it. If you can't see it, he does that. Or he does that. When God says, I'm no respecter of person. You are both equal to me. And then we've got a whole bunch of yokes on our neck that he don't have to carry. I'm sorry, somebody lied somewhere. And you better figure it out. Otherwise, you're going to be left with no weapon to battle with. And you're going to be standing behind the sons of darkness. That's who you're going to be standing behind. Truly the battle is yours, and by the strength of your hand their corpses have been broken to pieces. Where was I? The hands of the daughter of Israel, because she trusted in your great name and not in sword and spear, for the battle is yours. But by trusting in the true Holy One, you end up being armed with sword and spear. And for the next battle to come, when she rises up, right, in the second heaven, when she stands up. Your great name and not in sword and spear. For the battle is yours. She subdued the Philistines many times by your holy name. Also by the hand of our queens. You rescued us many times because of your mercy, not according to our works, for we have acted wickedly, nor for the acts of our rebelliousness. That's right. It's only when you turn back to the true living God. Return, O Shulamite. The battle is yours, the strength is from you. It is not our own, neither our power nor the strength of our hand have done valiantly, but rather by your power and the strength of your great valor. Just as you told us in times past, saying, there shall come forth a star out of Israel, a scepter shall write out of Israel, and shall crush the forehead of Moab. See, there we got the crushing of the heel. And he does sting her, right? He does. But she crushes him and tears down the sons of Sheth, and she shall be a descendant of the daughter of Israel, and she shall destroy the remnant from the city, and the enemy shall be a possession, and Israel, daughter Israel, shall do valiantly by the hand of your anointed ones, as the remnant daughters of Israel, by the hand of your anointed ones, seers of things appointed. You have told us about the times of the war of your hands, in order that you may glorify yourself. Fight amongst our enemies, to bring down the hordes of Belial, the 7 vainglorious nations at the hand of the oppressed, whom you have redeemed with power and retribution, a wondrous strength. Our heart that melts shall be as a door of hope. You will do to them as you did to Pharaoh, and the officers of his chariot in the Red Sea. And we've seen it was the presence of God who did that. It was the daughters of Israel. And it says, then the admixture of doctrine, the lies, covered over my path, so you couldn't see my path any longer. Yet will I lead thee in paths that thou have not known. You will ignite the humble of spirit like a fiery torch of fire in a sheaf, consuming the wicked. You shall not turn back until the annihilation of the guilty in time past. You foretold the appointed time, for your hand is powerful work against the Kittim, saying, and Assyria shall fall by a sword not of man, and a sword not of men shall consume him. That's right, it's not of man. That makes me think of that movie where she says, I am no man, right? When she kills that dragon in Lord of the Rings, she says, I am no man. And it was pointing to something. For into the hand of the oppressor you will deliver the enemies of all the lands, into the hands of those who are prostrate in the dust, in order to bring down all the mighty men of the peoples, to return the recompense of the wicked on their heads. That's right. To pronounce the just judgment of your truth on all sons of men, and to make yourself an everlasting name among the people. So I'm going to end there. That's page 11 we're going to pick up. So there's only 7 pages to go. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And the video's already 136. I'm sorry. It was just quick. I really wanted to show you that there is more elements into this that you can learn. It is validated, actually, that these are women. Just listen to it. Read it. It's going along with everything that we learned in the Old Testament when we determined to go in and study it and listen to the Holy One of Israel, not a religious lie, built up by man to empower him as the principality and power of the air, with a harlot spirit that will bow to him. So anyway, that's the video. I better shut up. Thanks for watching. I pray you're blessed with an abundance of truth. And thanks for watching, and I hope you all have a really nice day.